Have you ever wondered how we perceive beauty? Why do some people seem more beautiful than others? Or even how a particular art piece can be seen by one person as amazing, but hideous to another. These ideas that we have about other people and other things all can be explained by science. In fact, in understanding how we think of beauty, neuroscientists have been able to treat a variety of things, from PTSD to Parkinson's disease, to even bettering our education system. But how does this all connect together? Continue listening to find out. Today joining us for this discussion is myself, Sarah Gable, and our guest, Alexis Washko. You may be wondering what makes us qualified to talk about this topic.
Yeah, I literally have no idea.
We are neuroscience students. In fact, we're minoring in the topic. Over the past couple weeks, we've been researching various topics extensively to become as educated as possible. Arguably, the most interesting topic is the one I chose, neuroaesthetics.
I mean, I think mine's pretty interesting too. If you want to learn more about the effects of horror movies on the adolescent brain, you should definitely listen to my podcast.
This is not a free commercial for your podcast. The people want to know about neuroaesthetics.
Alright, so what even is that?
Funny you ask. Neuroaesthetics is a branch of neuroscience that explains the relationship between beauty and perception.
Well, I guess that is interesting to us then, but how exactly does that apply to people who aren't in neuroscience?
Well, like I said earlier, the applications of this science are vast and are localized by the core perception of what beauty means to each of us.
Well, the way you said that sounds like beauty is different to each person. How's that even possible?
Well, to answer that, we have to explore three topics. What is beauty? How does beauty change over time? And what exactly is happening in the brain when we look at something that's beautiful? So with that, let's dive into our first topic. What is beauty? To answer this question, neuroscience actually relies on philosophy. Again, in terms of philosophy, what's beautiful is not necessarily synonymous with attractiveness or even what is the most pleasurable. Rather, it's something that evokes a strong feeling. However, feeling alone is not enough to categorize what beauty is. Otherwise, words such as remorse, guilt, or even joy would be considered beauty. Philosophy sets other parameters to this as well, but in terms of neuroscience, feeling is the most important factor. Since we now have a definition of what beauty means, we can identify how beauty changes over time. To answer this, we have to look to the University of Illinois. They conducted a study with 105 individuals to understand how beauty is being perceived throughout a lifetime. Throughout their experiment, they identified that there are in fact 5 stages of understanding beauty, named prettiness, beauty is big and amazing, beauty is emotionally moving, beauty is a system, and principled beauty, respectively. It was found that those in stage 1, again this is prettiness, could identify preference with some hesitation, but could not justify why they found it to be beautiful. This was thought to be due to the lack of emotional awareness that young participants had, both in regards to themselves and the world around them. Stage 2 participants, so this is beauty is big and amazing, were able to answer what beauty was in all forms and gave some justification. Participants in this stage often related the forms of beauty to something that was visually appealing though. Stage 3 participants, beauty is emotionally moving, were able to apply abstract ideas like emotions in combination with physical stimuli to convey what beauty meant to them. Stage 4, beauty is a system, had the ability to explain why something was beautiful to them specifically, not just generally like all the other previous stages. And then finally, stage 5 participants, principled beauty, were able to apply their own perspective as well as the perspective of others. They possessed the unique ability to understand and appreciate beauty in diversity. Now, what's really interesting about this is what stage you were placed in doesn't necessarily correspond to the age of the individual. In fact, the only stage that contained solely children, specifically from the ages 4 to 6, was stage 1. Every other stage had adults within it. And Again, this is all due to how the individual was able to articulate their answers. So, for example, within the study, all 105 participants were showed a image of a forest and were asked all the same questions. So the question they would initially start off with is, why are the trees beautiful? Stage 1 participants wouldn't be able to answer this very well. They'd just say, I like trees, and that's why I think they're beautiful. Whereas stage 2 participants would say, they're tall, they have different kinds of beautiful leaves and big branches, and you can climb them. Stage 3 participants would say something along the lines of, trees are beautiful because they move my heart, their branches gracefully lift up to the sky. Stage 4 participants would answer, trees have their own unique role to play in ecology, they're essential for the health of the soil, the insects, for birds, for mammals. When I see a tree, I realize how beautiful all these interconnections are. And then finally, stage 5 participants would answer the question, why are the trees beautiful? They would say, a tree is made up of a diverse system from its vascular to photosynthetic systems, but all of those systems are united. Our eyes can see the beauty in the trees as well as many other components. To understand this further, let's dive into the neurological pathway. Even though neuroaesthetics focuses its work on understanding how the brain determines preference for all things, it's most easily studied through visual art. Visual art in particular is an incredibly useful tool to researchers because it typically is a replication of reality. So first, the visual stimulus, it must be interpreted by the primary visual cortex. This region of the brain is responsible for analyzing the borders of objects and determining where they lie on a visual field.
So what does that mean?
So when you look at something, the primary visual cortex is able to identify what you're looking at and see just how far or close the thing is based on other objects in the room. For example, if there was an apple sitting on the front of your desk, the brain is able to tell exactly how far away it is based on other objects. So if you had a water bottle sitting on the back of your desk, the brain would be able to judge exactly where both of those objects are based upon the other one. There are other visual cues for this, such as size and shadows. If the apple is closer, it's going to seem proportionally larger than that of the water bottle in comparison to them both being side by side. This information is then sent to the dorsal and ventral regions of the brain. The two determine identification and emotional implication or location respectively. Relating this to our previous example, this would be the part of the brain that would be able to identify that you are looking at an apple and also what an apple means to you or your preference for an apple. Art is really cool because it has the ability to manipulate our perception of reality. If an artist were to draw the example I described above with the desk, water bottle, and apple, all would be on a piece of paper. Depending how they include things like shadows and proportions, they can trick our brains into believing those objects really are closer or further away. Where things get even more interesting is whether or not we appreciate what we're viewing. This involves the dopamine pathway, in particular the mesolimbic dopamine pathway. Here, dopamine neurotransmitters travel to the nucleus accumbens. This part of the brain is known as the reward center and is a big factor in our preferences for things. However, what triggers the release of dopamine in one individual isn't always going to do the same in another.
Wow, that's super interesting, but why does this even matter?
Well, in studying the ways in which our brains perceive art and beauty, developmentally and neurologically, scientists have found a way to better society. Now for the implications of neuroaesthetics. In studying the ways in which our brain perceives art and beauty, developmentally and neurologically, scientists have found ways to better society. A study was conducted by Susan Magsamen that observed 2 ways that neuroaesthetics can be used. The first was with PTSD, specifically with the neurological traumas of war. Often those with PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, have problems with Broca's area, which is a part of the brain responsible for speech, particularly with the articulation of language, written or spoken. Painting provides an outlet for active duty soldiers as well as veterans to have unlimited means of expression. Through their artwork, they're able to convey what words cannot, and it's found to be incredibly therapeutic. Though most research is done involving PTSD with soldiers and veterans, this form of therapy is not exclusive to them.
Wow, that's amazing. What else can neuroaesthetics help with?
Well, within Magsamen's study, she also observed utilizing neuroaesthetics as a replacement therapy for drugs.
How's that even possible, though?
While many doctors in Canada, as well as some other regions of Europe, are now advising their patients to engage in art in place of medication, it's been recommended to participate in art or even go to a local art museum because it can activate the mesolimbic pathway I talked about earlier. An increase in dopamine can be super helpful to lots of patients. Neuroaesthetics isn't limited to just medicine, though. It's even been proven to help as an educational tool.
Oh, how can it help with education?
Well, in applying the University of Illinois stage theory, parents or teachers who are able to identify what stage of beauty their child or student is in have been shown to engage with the child more efficiently. Just as a second grade teacher simplifies the complexities of mathematics by incorporating songs or mnemonics, teachers hoping to achieve student excellence in beauty and understanding or even social awareness can utilize techniques that are being provided through neuroaesthetics. In understanding how a child perceives the beauty in the world around us, they are able to articulate problems and art in the same manner.
That's crazy. Who knew that neuroaesthetics could be so helpful to everyone, not just neuroscientists?
Right? This new branch of neuroscience has the ability to exponentially benefit society. That's all for today. Thank you to our listeners who joined us. Whether you're a teacher, parent, student, or you're just existing in the world, all of this is applicable to you.